Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to give my review of AEW's Double or Nothing. Starting off the evening, go to our first match of the night. It is the Blackjack Battle Royal match for the AEW International Championship. In this matchup, we got the Best Friends, Bandito, Varsity Athletes, Lee Moriarty and Big Bill, Commander, Kip Sabian, Butcher and the Blade, Jay White, Juice Robinson, Dustin Rhodes, Keith Lee, Ricky Starks, the Lucha Bros, Swerve, Brian Cage, and Orange Cassidy involved in this matchup. The match itself, I thought was a good match. Back and forth matchup with all the competitors involved in this matchup. Keith Lee both exchange in the middle of the ring. White then hits Sister Abigail on Penta. Juice and Jay attack Ricky Starks. Big Bill was eliminated from this match, or eliminates Ricky. Orange and Big Bill, Swerve, and Penta are the last four in this match. Big Bill eliminates Penta. Swerve then eliminates Big Bill. Orange, Swerve are the last two in this match. Orange then hits a Stun Dog Millionaire. Swerve then gets up, hits a stomp off the top. Orange Cassidy then hits an Orange Punch on Swerve. And then Prince Nana attacks Orange Cassidy from ringside. But Orange Cassidy ultimately eliminates Swerve. And your winner of the match, and still AEW International Champion, is Orange Cassidy. Hats off to Orange Cassidy for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is an unsanctioned match with Special Enforcer Sabu. It is Adam Cole versus Chris Jericho. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Cole and Jericho. Garcia then quickly attacks Cole. Jericho and Sabu then both exchange. Sabu then hits a splash off the top rope through the table on the outside. Jericho and Cole then both exchange. Jericho then hits a suplex off the apron on Cole. Jericho was trying to keep the pace of the match. Jericho then goes for a lion salt, but Cole counters it quickly with a super kick. Jericho then applies a lion tamer, but Cole breaks the hold using a fire extinguisher. Jericho then hits a code breaker on Cole for a near fall. Britt Baker is here. She runs down to the ring. Baker then attacks Jericho with a kendo stick. Saraya is here as well. Baker then chases off Saraya. Jericho then throws a chair at Cole, and it goes through a chair at Cole. Cole then goes to the table. Jericho and Cole then are chained together. Cole then hits a Panama Sunrise. Cole then hits a super kick as well. Cole then hits a running knee. Then Cole lands multiple punches on Jericho, and then referee Aubrey Edwards ends up calling the match. And your winner of the match is Adam Cole. Hats off to Adam Cole for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is for the AEW Tag Team Championships with special guest referee Mark Briscoe. I thought it was a good match, man. FTR versus Jarrett and Jay Lethal. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between FTR and Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Dax and Lethal then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Jarrett and Lethal keeping the pace of the match. Karen Jarrett then attacks Wheeler. Jarrett then applies a figure four leg lock, but Dax hits a diving headbutt to break the hold. Dax then hits a Rainbuster on Jay Lethal. Lethal then gets up, hits a lethal combination. FTR then hit a Shatter Machine. Mark Briscoe is out. Karen Jarrett then hits Aubrey with a guitar. Jarrett then hits Dax with the belt. Jarrett then attacks Mark Briscoe. Then FTR ultimately hit another Shatter Machine. Pins for the 3. And your winners of the match, and still AEW Tag Team Champions, are FTR. Hats off to FTR for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is for the TNT Championship in a ladder match. It is Wardlow versus Christian. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Wardlow and Christian, with Wardlow keeping the pace of the match. Wardlow then hits a press slam on Christian on the ladder. Luchasaurus is here. Wardlow then hits a senton off the Alabama Slam on Christian on the ladder. Arn Anderson is here. Luchasaurus then attacks Wardlow. Wardlow then hits Luchasaurus with a chair shot. Wardlow then hits a swanton off the ladder on Christian through a table to the outside. And then Wardlow hits a powerbomb on Christian. Wardlow then climbs the ladder, grabs the title, and your winner of the match and still TNT champion is Wardlow. Hats off to Wardlow for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is for the AEW Women's Championship. It is Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm. I thought it was a good match. Ruby Soho and Saraya quickly attack Jamie Hayter. Match turns into a back and forth matchup with Toni Storm keeping the pace of the match. Baker then is here as well. Baker then attacks Saraya. Ruby then sprays Hayter. Shida then attacks Ruby Soho, but Toni Storm ultimately hits her signature Storm Zero on Jamie Hayter, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new AEW Women's Champion is Toni Storm. Hats off to Toni Storm for getting the win in that matchup and becoming the new AEW Women's Champion. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is a trios open, pretty much an open rules match, open challenge, if you will, for the trios championship. It is House of Black versus the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed answer the call, the open challenge against the House of Black. The match itself was a decent match, back and forth matchup between the House of Black and the Acclaimed, with the House of Black keeping the pace of the match. Billy Gunn hits a famouser on Brody, but Malachi Black ultimately hits a fade to black, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match and still AEW Trios champions are the House of Black. Hats off to the House of Black for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's for the TBS Championship. It is Taya Valkyrie versus Jade Cargill. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Valkyrie and Cargill, with Valkyrie and Cargill both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Valkyrie was trying to keep the pace of the match, but Jade hits a devastating spine buster on Taya Valkyrie. Valkyrie then gets up, hits a spear on Jade. Taya then hits the Valhalla for a near fall, but Jade ultimately hits her signature Jaded maneuver on Taya Valkyrie, pins her for the 3, and your winner of the match and still TBS champion is Jade Cargill. After the match, Mark Sterling is in the ring with Jade Cargill. He want to throw out another open challenge, and someone answers that call, and it's none other than Chris Statlander. She comes back to AEW from a long, lengthy injury. She answers the call. Now we have an impromptu matchup between Jade and Chris Statlander for the TBS Championship. Chris was keeping the pace throughout this entire match, and Chris ultimately hits the finish on Jade, pins her for the 3, and your winner of the match and new TBS champion is Chris Statlander. Hats off to Chris Statlander for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's for the AEW World Championship. It is Jungle Boy versus Sammy Guevara versus MJF versus Darby Allin. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Jungle Boy, Guevara, MJF, and Darby Allin, with MJF keeping the pace of the match. MJF then grabs a microphone, tells Guevara to take the pin. Guevara's going to have a family soon. Guevara then applies the Walls of Jericho. Darby then applies the Scorpion Deathlock on Jungle Boy. The hold is broken. Jungle Boy then hits a Canadian Destroyer on MJF. Guevara then hits a Spanish Fly on Darby Allin. MJF then gets up, hits an Avalanche Powerbomb on Darby. Darby then hits MJF with a skateboard. Darby then goes up for the top rope, hits a coffin drop for a near fall. Guevara then hits a GTH on Jungle Boy, but Darby hits a coffin drop on Jungle Boy. MJF then hits a headlock takeover, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and still AEW World Champion is MJF. Hats off to MJF for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our main event of Double or Nothing. It is the Anarchy in the Arena matchup. It is the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club, with the Elite keeping the pace of the match. Moxley then hits a suplex on Omega into barbed wire. Claudio then hits a pile driver on Matt Jackson on the back of a pickup truck that looked absolutely brutal. Page then hits a Deadeye on Moxley off the apron. Moxley then gets up, hits a pile driver on Nick Jackson. Adam Page then hits a buckshot lariat on Yuta for a near fall. Omega then hits a V-trigger on Claudio. Danielson then hits a running knee on Omega. Omega then gets up, hits a one-winged angel for a near fall. Takeshita is here. He ends up attacking Omega, which allows Wheeler Yuta to go for the cover, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are the Blackpool Combat Club. Hats off to the Blackpool Combat Club for getting the win in this matchup. Couple things I want to say about Double or Nothing, man, before I get out of here. Number one, was it the best pay-per-view AEW's put together? Absolutely not. But with that being said, was it the worst? No. Absolutely not. I think the biggest thing about this pay-per-view, honestly, besides maybe the Anarchy in the Arena match and the Four Pillars matchup, the build for a lot of these other matches just weren't there. Just really weren't. But with that being said, there was a couple matches on this card, and with all this stuff that was going on, you can kind of tell, what was really going to go down. I mean, for example, Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. There was a big rumor that Jamie Hayter was going into that match with Toni Storm injured. And then which pretty much kind of set the precedent of what was going to happen in this match. Hayter was eventually going to drop the belt, and Toni Storm was going to be the new AEW Women's Champion to allow Jamie Hayter to take some time off to heal up from her injuries. Adam Cole and Chris Jericho. Yeah, the other thing about that match as well that I wasn't really too keen on, man, was the build. And the match. I mean, I'm not saying the match wasn't a good match. It was a good match. I feel like the storyline really didn't. The match didn't really sell you on the storyline. I thought we were going to get Adam Cole, maybe from the NXT Black and Gold brand, and we really didn't get that, man. I was kind of hoping to see a little old school Adam Cole in this matchup against Jericho, but unfortunately, I didn't get to see that. But Cole ended up getting the win in that matchup. So hats off to Adam Cole. The Blackjack Battle Royal. The one thing I want to say about this matchup, man. Number one, I'm not a big fan of Battle Royals, but what I will say is that, man, Orange Cassidy has done a hell of a job defending this AEW International Championship since he's won it. I mean, it's been absolutely insane for the stuff that he's done, and multiple title defenses from Orange Cassidy. But with that being said, man, I really don't know what's going to be next for Orange Cassidy. Who's going to step up to challenge him next for that AEW International Championship? And I said this from the very beginning too, man. I feel like the International Championship is kind of taking a lot of spotlight away from the TNT Championship. And speaking of the TNT Championship, man, Wardlow versus Christian in that ladder match, that was probably one of the best performances I've seen of Wardlow since he's been with the company. It was a fantastic match from Wardlow, in my opinion. Some of the spots in that match, that swanton off the top of the ladder to the outside on Christian through that, through the tables, was absolutely insane. I believe he landed that on Luchasaurus. It was absolutely insane. It was one of the best matches I've seen from Wardlow in quite a while. I'm glad that he retained the TNT Championship. Hopefully they bring a little bit more spotlight to that championship now that, Wardlow got past Christian. And we can get the ball rolling with the TNT Championship again, once again being in the big picture for AEW television. FTR versus Jarrett and Lethal with special guest referee Mark Briscoe. I'm a huge fan of FTR, man. I love the body of work they put in with AEW so far. They're one of the best tag teams on the planet with Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. They're a phenomenal tag team, man. I can't really say the same thing about Jarrett and Lethal. And I know there's a lot of people out there that might be fans of Jeff Jarrett. I am not. I think Jeff Jarrett needs to go backstage and stay backstage and be more of a manager kind of role, maybe booking talent, maybe scouting talent for AEW. He doesn't need to be on television, man. I'm sorry. His time has come. His time has passed. And it wasn't, and let's just get this out of the way now. And it's not like Jeff Jarrett was a multi-time world champion. He's not in the realm of like a Ric Flair or even a Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock, Mick Foley even. He's not even close to that, man. And to be honest with you, I don't know why a lot of people are like, oh yeah, he's up there. I personally don't think he is. Is he a good wrestler? Yeah, he can wrestle. I will give him that. But the gimmick, the whole, him pretty much using the same figure four leg lock that he's used for years, pretty much copied Ric Flair. We're tired of seeing it, man. And I mean, even in the promo that Dax and Wheeler cut on Jarrett and Lethal before this matchup at Double or Nothing, and I agree with them. It kind of reminds you of TNA days when it comes to Jarrett and Lethal teaming up. You have two former TNA talent. I mean, Jeff Jarrett was practically running the show over there in TNA with Dixie Carter, the King of the Mountain. It's I don't know, man. Jarrett needs to go. Jarrett needs to go in a backstage role, scout talent, get Karen Jarrett off TV. It's not needed at all. It's not. And I don't know what strings Jarrett's trying to pull here, but it's just, he needs to go, man. I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan of Jeff Jarrett. Is the guy a good wrestler? Yeah. Could he cut a decent promo? Yeah. But does he need to be wrestling on AEW television? Absolutely not. As well, even, the fact they booked this matchup for the AEW Tag Team Championships with FTR versus Jarrett and Lethal, it's garbage, man. I'm sorry. FTR deserve better. Hopefully they can get really top contenders to challenge them for the AEW Tag Team Championships, because I felt like this match didn't do any justice for FTR whatsoever. And they're a phenomenal tag team, man. One of the best tag teams in the world. And I feel like they were kind of spoon-fed Jarrett and Lethal. Or either that or Jarrett and Lethal were trying to get attention from Tony Khan backstage to lobby them to get a match against FTR for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Practically begging at this point. Hopefully Jarrett's done. I don't see a reason, to book them really in anything else. I mean, I have a lot of praise for Jay Lethal Phenomenal talent, great wrestler for TNA, great career in Ring of Honor. Jarrett, I really can't say the same, man. I think Jarrett needs to have a more of a backstage role, maybe scout talent, stuff like that, and be more of an ambassador for AEW, in my honest opinion. But I'm happy with the outcome of this match. I'm happy that FTR were able to retain their AEW Tag Team Championships, and I look forward to what's going to happen next with FTR and who's going to challenge FTR for those World Tag Team Championships. Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm. I mentioned this earlier, man. It was bound to happen that she was going to drop the belt due to the fact that she was injured. Toni Storm ended up becoming victorious in this match. It's just going to allow Jamie Hayter to take some time off to heal up from her injuries. Chris Statlander. I was excited to see her back. She was off for quite a while dealing with multiple injuries, especially retaining to her legs. It's good. I'm glad to see her back. I really am. It's great to see her back in a division right now that I think does need Statlander. I don't know where you're going to slot her in as far as what's going on with the Originals and the Outcast, but I'm looking forward to that as well. So it's great to have her back, especially with Collision right around the corner, and the rumors about a hard brand split. I think she would be a great addition to either brand if they decide to do a hard brand split. So it's great to have her back. The Four Pillars match, man, phenomenal matchup. I mean, this is the future of AEW. Future legends of AEW, if I might add. But it was a great match, man. It was a great showing from MJF. His back was against the wall with, facing, Jungle Boy and Guevara and Darby Allin all in the same ring, same match. And MJF became victorious, ended up retaining his AEW World Championship. And to be honest with you, I didn't see MJF dropping the belt at Double or Nothing, man. I think he's going to hold on to that belt for quite a while. At least until his contract possibly comes up, man. I don't see MJF losing that belt anytime soon right now. I mean, because right now smart money is on MJF. A lot of people are interested in what he's going to do, who's going to be the next person to challenge MJF. Obviously CM Punk's returning relatively soon, so who knows, man. But I knew for a fact MJF was not going to drop that title at Double or Nothing. With all due respect to the guys of the likes of Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, and Guevara, I just don't think it was those guys' time yet, to be honest with you. But that's not to say that eventually they will be world champions, because it's going to happen. Just not right now. But hats off to MJF for retaining the World Championship. And then we get to the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club in the Anarchy in the Arena match. Solid matchup, man. I was kind of hoping the Elite would, become victorious in this match. But throughout this match, I was wondering until it actually happened. I was kind of wondering, when are we going to see Don Callis? I know he was ringside, and I was wondering when he was going to get involved in this match. And where the hell Takeshita was. And then, Takeshita ends up showing up and pretty much, beats up Omega. And now we have Takeshita joining the Blackpool Combat Club. And then, from what I was told, after Double or Nothing went off the air, Kenny Omega grabbed the microphone and said that he has, some friends left in the world of wrestling that he might reach out to kind of even the odds for the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club. And the story between the Elite and Blackpool Combat Club is far from over. So I'm definitely looking forward to what's going to happen next. I'm definitely looking forward to who Omega might be bringing in. Some people are saying it could be Okada. If I had to put money on it, I would probably put money on it being Kota Ibushi. Obviously Omega and Ibushi have a long friendship with each other, tag team in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he'd be a great addition to AEW. I think it's only a matter of time when we do see Kota Ibushi. It could be on Dynamite this week. It could be before Forbidden Door. It's only a matter of time before we see Kota Ibushi in AEW, and to kind of even the odds between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite. So definitely looking forward to that and what's going to happen next between both those teams. But all in all, it was a solid night for Double or Nothing. Definitely look forward to what's going to happen on Dynamite this week. And all in all, man, like I said, was it the best AEW pay-per-view that we've ever seen? Absolutely not. But it damn sure was not the worst. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Double or Nothing. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.